If you have a baby parrot, like these cute, adorable cockatiels, should you treat them the same as an adult parrot, which she's not? Hi, I'm Kaylin, the author of the Parrot Bliss Bond. Please be sure to get your copy on Amazon so that you have your handbook for everything about providing a quality life so you can have quantities of bliss with your parrot. This is Bonnie Rose, my golden conure, and these are two young baby cockatiels whose names are still up in the air. In this video, we're going to talk about the fact that they definitely should be treated differently. Now, hopefully you know that if you were looking for a cockatiel at a pet store, they wouldn't be in a cute little carrier, but these guys are in a cute little carrier because they're young and one of them isn't fully feathered. So I want two things. I want them to feel like they're in a nest, and that's why they're in a closed space. And I want them to be warm, which is why it's kind of nice that it has air holes on the back, but the front is enclosed so that hopefully they can stay warm. For the baby whose feathers haven't fully sprouted yet, so to speak, that's important because with the body temperature of his sister or brother, and the fact that the carrier isn't going to have a big breeze going through it, it's going to help that baby stay warm and be able to continue to grow. So the body doesn't have to try to stay warm and it can instead focus on growing. Yes, it is super important to recognize that there's a difference. The thing is though, if these guys were a little older and we were in a pet store, an exotic bird store, and we were picking them up, one of the things that they would say to us is, it's done, your baby's weaned, they're eating on their own, they're ready to go home. I think that creates the misperception that your baby parrot is all done growing up. If you haven't already gotten your bottle of Tink's must-have Parrot Relief, it is CBD inside of hemp oil. Now, hemp oil is something that I've had two different veterinarians prescribe for my parrots. One was my Amazon, and Amazons aren't supposed to have fatty things because they are prone to being obese. So why would my veterinarians prescribe the hemp oil for my parrots, especially for an Amazon? Well, it's because healthy fat is really important for your parrot, for any one of your parrots. If your parrot is an Amazon in the cockatoo family, the bigger cockatoos, or a Quaker, then it's important to recognize that their pellets should have the correct amount of fat. But you can put a little hemp oil on their food as well if you like. It has the correct balance of omegas, and so it's going to help your parrots stay healthy, help their liver, and the CBD is going to help support their immune system. Or if your parrot is having some stress issues, this is a Parrot Relief. So it's going to help if they're plucking, if they're really loud and squawky, if something's a little out of balance and they're just a little too riled up. It's just like this fantastic, all-around, wonderful, helpful thing. So you can get your bottle of Tink's Parrot Relief on parrotbliss.com. Just like any other creature, a dog that you bring home who goes through a puppy stage, a kitten that you bring home, you want to make sure they find the kitten food, you want to make sure they're using their box, a baby who finishes nursing but isn't ready to start driving. There is a stage in between, a transition called growing up. The same is really true for a parrot. As a matter of fact, Bonnie is still in that transition stage, and sometimes she looks to me to feed her. On that note, actually, do you want to tell? There you go. So it's important to recognize that your baby parrot is similar in a lot of ways to a human baby. They have different needs than an adult would, and they are going to require some different handling, some different caregiving from you or from their flock. In nature, one of the things that would happen, for example, with green cheek conures, is that a green cheek conure from last season's clutch would stay with the flock, and mom and dad would have that baby help raise the next babies. This means that when you bring a baby parrot home and they're all alone, you're putting them in a difficult situation. They don't have the safety and security of the flock. They don't have the warmth of the flock, and they don't have anyone to teach them the things that they would normally be learning during that growing up transition stage. Now, at home, in a cage, and in our homes when they're out of the cage, it's true that most parrots don't need to learn survival skills. They probably don't need to learn how to hunt for food, although you might be surprised to learn that they do need to learn to look for their food. They need to learn what their food dish looks like, and they need to learn to go to their food dish so that they don't go hungry. It sounds kind of, perhaps you won't believe me, it might sound a little illogical, but it's true, and I have had a pet shop tell me that that's really important. They've had people bring a parrot home who they didn't realize they had to watch and make sure the baby was eating, and it was a problem because the baby's food was too far away. So you actually want to treat your parrot a little more like a baby than you may have thought, your young parrot. Even though when food is right in front of them, they're eating on their own, they might not always. I've noticed that during that transition stage of growing up, one of the things that happens is that my parrots tend to be a little thin. Bonnie, for example, she's not too bad, but she's a little thin. I do keep my eye on her, and I make sure that she eats enough. Now, what do you do if in a case like Bonnie, you only have one, as opposed to these two guys? Because these two guys have each other, it's like having a flock. Not 100%, but enough that they keep each other warm, they keep each other company. They are learning touch, they're learning some socialization. In the flock, they would learn a lot more socialization, like about the social structure of the flock. Parrots have complex social societies. And of course, they would also learn some survival skills. So while the social structure in our homes and survival skills may not be as much, the ability to relate and the ability to be social is going to be really important if you want to have a blissful bond. Because after all, if your parrot learns to be by itself and kind of learns that it's a loner, it's going to lose some of its parrotness, and it may not relate to you as well. All right, now we just had a parrotlet fly into the scene, which is just fine because I think I just lost my golden conure. One came in from above and one went down from below. So what do you do if you have only one like Bonnie here? Well, one of the things I do with Bonnie is I try to keep her with me a lot, and that's actually the reason she's in a lot of my videos with me. Unfortunately, she was clipped when I got her, so there was absolutely no say in that for me, but that means that she's also not quite as confident, although she's getting more confident, with the flock. So I keep her with me so that she feels like she's loved, she's taken care of, she's looked out for, because when I'm, for example, in the kitchen and she's at the counter and maybe she's bonding with one of our Cape parrots, when they get a little out of hand, because they're just a little older than her, and young parrots don't relate to adult parrots in the same way, then I come to her rescue, and I come and I make sure she's okay. I pick her up. Sometimes I carry her off with me. Sometimes I put her in a cage where I know she'll be safe and secure while I finish doing whatever I'm doing. So I keep her with me quite a bit, and I supervise the time that she's with other parrots. And I try to give her plenty of time with other parrots. She particularly is fond of our youngest Cape parrot because they're about the same age. With the adults, my Cape parrots are just turned adults, my two males. One's not quite there and one's just turning into an adult. So they're interested in her and they're in similar age groups, very similar. But for that reason, my male Cape can get just a little out of hand for her. It's like he's just a little more aggressive because as a young male, he hasn't quite learned how to pace himself. So I just keep my eye on her. So you want to make sure that some things are going on, some basic things. That your young baby parrot is learning to fly if they don't already. That they really are eating and that they're eating enough. If you haven't learned how to monitor their breastbone, I'm like right here. Come here. Can I borrow you for a sec? Can I borrow you? Which is the bone right here. Then do learn about it. I'll try to put a link in a video I did talking about that some. And just watch them, because they often are still trying to also learn how to eat. In nature, even though they're weaned and they're fledgling, they can fly on their own, they are not necessarily expecting to be fed 100% of the time, but they're expecting to be shown where food is, expecting to be shown how to find food, and sometimes to be fed. So you want to make sure that you understand some nipping, some biting around your ear, around your cheek, if they're a smaller bird and you allow them on your shoulder, or on your fingers and your hands, might be, I'm hungry, feed me. There are things that are really important to look out for. They need extra time, they need extra love, they need extra attention, just like a human baby or toddler or preschooler kind of thing would. All the way up until, at the age of elementary school, they're starting to do things on their own, but you still don't leave them at home to make a steak dinner by themselves with the kitchen knives and the oven in the morning, right? Or in the evening. So make sure that you think of your young parrot appropriately, either as a baby, or if they're weaned, a young toddler, or whatever the age group may be, but kind of watch their age and watch their development just to make sure. Last thing, one of the most important things, is we would never put a baby parrot or a young parrot anywhere when you bring them home and they're weaned, all the way to when they are fully sexually mature. That window, you would never put them with an adult parrot. Why? Because adult parrots generally aren't so nice to other adult parrots' babies, because that's competition and that kind of thing. So you want to really watch and supervise time that they're together in a neutral place, not necessarily in a cage. And you want to make sure to let your young baby parrot grow up fully to the point where they're really confident, they can fly away, they can get themselves to safety, they can do whatever they need to do so that they can have an adult relationship, meaning that they can really relate at that adult level without being put into any kind of perilous situation where they could get their toe bitten and get their toe bloody, or get their toe bitten off, or get their beak injured, or a wing bitten, anything like that. So it's really important, because it's a matter of keeping your new young family member, which happens to have feathers, safe and secure. Thank you for joining me in this blissful video. I hope that helps you get a more clear picture on what a young parrot is really like and why they're not the same as an adult parrot. Thanks, and I'll catch you next time.